the low level of the Mississippi River and the lower exports from in the United States. That's one of the issues we are going to discuss here with Jerry Gidel on Connected Farm. So Jerry, the weekends with the all three major commodities going down, do you think that is related to the lower exports from the United States?
Oh yeah, there's some connection. There's no doubt. We had a big push on the previous week on soybeans, which is really 3 weeks back. From there, we had this Chinese buying right around the USDA report. Didn't have much activity on the Chinese buying here this last week until today. We did finally see them pop in for 128,000. I think it wasn't, well, surprisingly, 198,000 tons to Spain, which is kind of interesting because usually the Europeans buy a lot of Brazilian soybeans. But interestingly enough, we keep moving along here. Our harvest progress earlier this week was 80% on beans and 61% on corn. Those are numbers traditionally that kind of signal the post-harvest situation, and a little bit of push here in the U.S. to try to get some product moved through the system and exported before the Mississippi River shuts down. But unfortunately, the Mississippi River has already decided to shut down because of lack of moisture and rains. Now that there was a flash of moisture that happened oh, late last week in the Southwest and even up through parts of Illinois here, and it did bounce the water levels in St. Louis. But right now, at least, there's the current rain activity that's coming through the central U.S. is a lot more south directed. This seems to be Oklahoma, Texas, maybe a little parts of Kansas and on into Missouri. Well, not even much in Missouri. It kind of moves eastward, I should say, moves on into Arkansas and Tennessee, and that which is going to be beneficial because that's really surprisingly some of the lowest water down there is in the southern part of Mississippi. But the real issues right now is that uh, the world's really kind of caught between trying to figure out what's going to happen in the Black Sea and if things going on there. There's ongoing concerns that situation could get worse off and not have available supplies from there. But at the same time, uh, overall, the world seems to feel like that the U.S. situation on supplies and exports of being limited because of the Mississippi and also South America. There was some rains in Argentina that helped them out the first time, and probably it looks like some places they're talking was way back into the spring. But in general, it's been 6 or 8 weeks since they've had a decent 1 to 3 inch rain, which they did have in Buenos Aires and southeast Cordova.
Yes, but still the wheat crop will be significantly lower, right?
Oh, definitely. It's already been significantly impacted the wheat, and actually, it's really slowed down the potential for the corn. In that, actually, I think the Etashe and even the Buenos Aires exchange both kind of reduced down their corn outputs. Uh, Actually, I think the one I saw was a 3 million metric ton less from the Attaché down there versus the USDA's Washington D.C. people because of the reality of it is right now is that there's always a split in Argentina's plantings, and so uh, right now I've heard it's like 20%. Now maybe it'll pick up a little bit after this rain that came through here and that, but there's one little chance, I guess, again, next week, but after that, it's still the longer term forecast is of minimal moistures in Argentina, and the rains that did hit moved up into Paraguay and on into southern Brazil. So it didn't. You had the, it was a anywhere from 1 to 1.5 up to 3 inches, which is welcome. There's no doubt about it. But the potential for a major turnaround in Argentina's wheat for sure is a little too late because they're going to be start harvesting there in a month or less.
Yes, now on the macroeconomic side, we had some positive numbers in the United States, but next week is most likely that the Federal Reserve will increase rates, but the big question mark is by how much. That will be big for the agricultural sector.
Yes, it will. You're exactly right. The interesting thing was that the GDP values after kind of mediocre to actually lower numbers for 2 quarters. We actually had what wasn't it like 6 tenths or 8 tenths of a increase, and also the inflation numbers they adjusted, and that were also staying in the 6% level, and that so wow, we had a big rally in the Dow Jones today. Going into the weekend, and that's psychologically positive. And that I guess the big question becomes on it right now is how quickly does there there's lots of people want to look at the just the inflation number itself and reality saying, oh well, we the biggest problem about the feds, that's the only hammer they seem to think they have, and unfortunately there's other things that the administration could hopefully do about maybe getting some more energy being out there. I know that there's definitely a fight going on between this administration and the people in Houston about how the things should be handled here on energy, and the fact that OPEC even is trying to rally their prices by dropping back their output. But it's interesting in the fact that uh, there was even a story out today about the people looking at corn and soybean prices. Is that a real reason why food prices are going up? Well, many times. Uh, a loaf of bread is a classic one that's been going around in the American agriculture for the last 50 years. And the amount of wheat that's in a loaf of bread is very minuscule, probably about 2 or 3 slices. And the cost of it is really transportation. That's energy. What's going on with labor costs? What's going on with other things? And that's really the interesting twist on it. And but the problem becomes is it's an easy thing to say, okay, we need to slam inflation, and it's a hammer. It's important, but unfortunately, sometimes in the agricultural world, it's just weather and hoping for a change in other people's production around the world that finally brings down the price of corn, soybeans, and wheat. It's not so much interest rates, but unfortunately, that's a part of the way the things kind of bounce around in this thing as we go forward here in the world of economics, because that's the classic particular break that the uh, financial systems thinks it has to use.
Now, on the other side of the Pacific Ocean in China,
Mm-hmm.
there are many economic challenges. Some lockdowns continue in some regions, and the forecast for the economic growth in China will be under 4% for the first time in several years.
Yes, well, it these days, uh, I don't know. I think you probably saw the same things I did in some of the international press about some of the visuals that were going on there between the Z and his previous, uh, you know, uh, person that was involved in his party about running the government, and things getting a little, little dicey there, and that. But he looks like he's in complete control. You wouldn't have that particular visual happen if it wasn't he wanted to happen, and that's exactly right here. They've had definitely some economic issues. And it's interesting in the fact that actually it was pointed out again with some, and it's been there, and it's people kind of forget about the fact that our, excuse me, Ukraine was a big supplier of corn to China over the last 2 or 3 years because officially they don't have that much supposedly in the GMOs. I think that's always an interesting twist. But that being said, then the fact that we had the biggest chunk of the corn that was didn't get out, assuming the biggest amount of grain that didn't get out of Ukraine was because of the Russians was really Chinese corn. They had 5-6 million metric tons. And at this point, they've only taken less than 500,000 bushels of 500,000 metric tons of it, I should say, of corn. So it's just, why aren't they looking to other places? And they're not coming to the U.S. They seem to be kind of gritting their teeth, I guess, looking for potential corn from South America because they have made a deal with Brazil, as we know, about uh, getting their sanitation techniques and that straightened out because really Brazil had never really shipped any corn to China. So it looks like they're trying to wait for that, but I wonder if that's going to be able to last this long. There has been some soybean purchases from the U.S. and the U.S. corn sales this year are really the most disappointing of all the exports. Wheat's a little behind last year. Soybean slightly ahead, but corn, half again of the sales. Now, partly because China was a big buyer of U.S. corn in the last crop season there of 21-22.
So next week we are headed to the final stretch of the harvest.
Exactly. And I keep kind of bouncing around here trying to see what people are getting here on some of these last bits of sales. Sometimes you get a little better yield towards the end of the season, but considering the fact that we have not really seen any major change in the US Midwest weather until we had this rain event that came through here in the last week or so, it really has not. I've not heard any miraculous turnarounds in the Western Corn Belt about yields, and the Eastern Corn Belt yields are solid, but I wouldn't consider them dramatically better. So there's not any extra weight coming through here on moisture, or even from the standpoint of a little better scenario. But that's the. We won't get our update on that, by the way, until the 9th of November. That's the day after the U.S. elections. So, midterm elections, I should say. Don't say it's 4-year elections are still a couple years away, but definitely maybe that's another part of this feature that's keeping people kind of lackluster here. I don't know what connection there would be between elections and corn and soybean prices, but sometimes people just kind of hang back until they see if there's any change going on in the political world. Right now there's lots of different theories, but I think there's still a lot of theories that the Democrats could hang on for the Senate, and maybe definitely lose some seats in the House of Representatives, but maybe not see any huge turnover like it sometimes has in the past.
All right, Jerry. Thank you very much.
Well, but yeah, we'll look forward to I think a slowly increasing market, but $7 and $14 on these things. People got to keep in mind that those could still be some places to make some sales, and that hanging on to all their crop and waiting for a big rally right now. We just seems to have lost some of our mojo here. We got to come up with something wildly new here. Maybe it'll be because the Ukraine and the food corridor get shut down, but that's still 3 or 4 weeks away.
Let's hope so. Thank you.
All right. Take care. Have a good weekend.